Welcome to the Kindness Project, the podcast designed to share stories of kindness and share how kindness can make positive change in our world, one small.
In this week's episode of the Kindness Project, we talk about Twitch, Doctor Who, and we have part 2 of our interview with Rosalind Bluestone from the charity Goods for Good.
Welcome one and all to another episode of the Kindness Project. I'm joined today by a man who is sitting comfortably in his chair and a man who seems to have vacated his chair, and I'm now staring at nothing but the cow in his background. It's Russell and Chris. Woo!
It's a nice background. I do like
it. It's a really nice cow. Yeah, it's very colourful.
Interesting. You watching anything good on YouTube lately, Charlotte?
On YouTube, no, but I do follow this guy on Twitch, and basically it's just him programming his video game.
Yeah.
It's great. It's just
I've seen them.
It's just something I put on in the background when I'm doing something else. Just like he just talks through his process, and I don't understand a word of it, and it's great.
Yeah. What game is he programming?
I don't know. Heart something. I don't know.
I might not have seen that one, but I watch a lot of programming content, so...
Yeah, I sort of hopped on it because I followed this guy who does playthroughs, but he used to be a programmer, and he's friends with this guy, and I sort of got onto it because I hopped through a bunch of other channels.
Yeah, I do like a bit of programming content.
I love using Twitch as like background noise for other stuff I'm doing. It's just great.
My most recent rabbit hole is watching people sort of crush things with hydraulic crushers.
Oh, those are good.
The sound of it, just because there's
the one where it gets like crushed and Play-Doh and it goes into all like noodles.
Yeah. They're the sort of things.
Yeah.
There's
sometimes I get those on TikTok, but then they start telling a Reddit story over the top, and it's like, give me the hydraulic press sounds.
There's a Japanese thing where they like the sound of eating, isn't there? I can't remember what that's called.
Mukbangs.
Is that ASMR? Whether?
Yeah, but I don't like the ones where they eat because it's like like when you eat, it's just a bit.
Sorry, we are joined in today's episode by Sophie Dames, who's currently eating peanut butter out of a bowl.
Peanut butter and yogurt. Yogurt was like non-flavored.
Peanut butter and yogurt and honey out of a bowl. So we have got 4 people hosting the podcast today, which could get very messy. And you just like people crushing stuff for us.
Yeah, have you not seen it? It's something.
Have you not seen them? Have you genuinely not seen them?
I've seen Will It Blend. Have you ever seen Will It Blend?
Yes.
I like Will It Blend.
I thought one where they shoved stuff down a sink and then.
Sorry, what Will It Blend?
They put stuff in a blender and see if it will blend.
I'll have to look that up. I'll have to look
they just try and blend stuff.
I've not seen it.
I saw this thing and it was like, will it drain? And they just shoved stuff down their sink.
Will it drain?
And then they used like some sort of drain cleaner.
I reckon Rose should start.
It always drains.
After last week's episode, I reckon Rose should start a new YouTube channel called as founding member of the Nets and Hookers.
That's going to be a long old YouTube. That's going to be a long old YouTube channel name, you know.
What?
As founder of the Hookers.
No. The Nets and Hookers is the name of the YouTube channel. But
there's a series called Will It Hook?
Will It Hook? Don't get help, yeah.
Will It Hook? Yeah.
What you do though, just try out different types of wool.
Well, what you do is you'd have something, let's say a banana, and you've got to do a crochet model of that object.
I'm definitely not holding into that trap. You know, you'll come up with an idea, I feel you can run with it. I'm not falling into that trap.
As you know, Russ, I've got a tendency of doing that. Haven't I?
Yeah, you have.
Have you seen the videos of people who nip pasta spaghetti?
No.
Love those.
Spaghetti.
Like
But
you say, I'm a knitting.
Knitted spaghetti. Can you eat the creations?
Yeah.
God, that sounds right, doesn't it?
If we're talking about calming, though, nothing more calming for me than a carpet clean. Mm-mm.
Get the machine.
The machine, they get the machine out. Oh, yeah.
I feel that there's part of the internet. I just
super dirty ones where they get the jet washer out and everything.
I get the jet washer out. It's just great.
I enjoy them as well.
Yeah.
Carpet is just really, really brown, and then it's like a cream-coloured carpet.
right.
And they clean it, and it's like.
You're missing so much of the internet.
Oh god, he's searching up carpet cleaning now.
No, I'm not.
Don't do that.
I'm realised that we need some. I'm realised that we need some kindness news. So I'm finding a Doctor Who related version of kindness news today. Because as we sit here at the start of November, and as Doctor Who fans, the 60th anniversary episodes are coming. And I've got to say, chaps, I'm quite excited.
I am quite excited.
They're rerunning them all on BBC iPlayer as
They're
well.
all on there already, Russ.
Yeah.
They're all on there already.
Charlotte sent me a
I
link.
think that yesterday.
The Whoniverse, which basically is every single piece of Doctor Who content. Well, not every single piece, but quite a lot of it. Of the last 60 years.
Yeah.
It doesn't have any of the big Finish stuff on it, and there's not House of the Dead, which for any Torchwood fans, it's on
there's only
BBC
800
Sound.
episodes,
Go and listen to it because it made me cry, and I loved it.
But here's the thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
How rubbish was it back in the day? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, the production values of the new ones compared to the old ones.
What we find rubbish now was state of the art back then.
The problem is you always look at it through your modern sensibilities. So yesterday, Russ, I spent 20 minutes playing a Commodore 64 game because there's online emulators where you can just go on and plug in any game. It still stacks up.
What game was it?
Paradroid, Russ.
Oh, yeah.
Paradroid. However, not state-of-the-art graphics, clearly. The graphics were...
But I feel like with a lot of like indie games coming in with that sort of less sharp...
Look at Minecraft. That's all blocks.
Love Minecraft.
Yeah.
I was thinking like specifically Undertale, how big Undertale was for its time. Or like the sequel games, Deltarune are also big in the community as well.
Yeah. So
that's still.
I think with TV and film, you know what? I mean, with TV and film, the problem you've got is there's classic films that stack up, but they're not normally sci-fi. So, like, if you look at films like I don't know, The Godfather. The Godfather is 50 years old, right? Nearly 50 years old. However, it still looks like
but it's got no special graphics.
Special effects.
It's got no VR.
Is that sci-fi bit that does it? But human stories are the ones that stack up because human stories are eternal. Right?
Yeah.
You know,
we were talking about rabbit holes earlier, and now we're talking about movies, and I'm gonna bring them together. One of my rabbit holes when I was like 13 or 14 was watching.
Sorry, can I just ask? Are you gonna hook them together?
Yeah, absolutely. One of my rabbit holes when I was like 13, 14, and I sort of went back to it when I was like 16, was student films. Because if
Right.
you go online, you can find loads of student films.
What's the best? But then you look at like every filmmaker started off as a student filmmaker,
Yeah.
didn't they?
Yeah, there's a really good one. I think it was Dutch, and I watched it with subtitles. This might not be the Dutch one, but there was definitely a Dutch one in the collection of films I just watched over and over because they were just on YouTube. There was one about these 3 teenagers, and they just were like normal kids, bit on the sort of bad side, you know, and and they just went for a walk one day, and they ended up down on the train tracks, and it's about these 2 kids just surviving after their friend has died, and it's just such a beautiful little film. Or they are often quite like dramatic and sad because they're student films, and I feel like that's a lot of the mindset students get in sometimes.
I like the animations.
Yeah, what the student animation?
Yeah, because there was one.
Student animations are also really good.
There's and a rabbit for some reason, and it was like the end of the world, and it was like penguins were trying to like annihilate the world.
Right.
And and she was like, press the red button, and there was like 87 red buttons, and he was like, which one? And she was like, the big one, and there was like he turned around and there was like a really massive red button.
I feel we're getting really into. Sorry, Charlotte. I feel we're getting a real insight into the mindset of Charlotte and Sophie there, right? So what we've got is Charlotte talking about grief and existential crisis and teen angst and what student filmmakers think about, which is life and death and everything in between. And then suddenly Sophie turns up and goes, "He's making buttons!"
No, but the animation ones are different because I watched an animation one and I probably watched it about 5 or 6 times where this guy just goes into a shop and the shopkeeper comes with me and he gets a packet of butter from the fridge and then he walks out to the desert and he puts the butter in a hole and then you hear monster noises from the bottom of the hole and the shopkeeper just goes, he really likes butter, and that's it. That's the whole film.
Well, how about that student film where there's a lemonade stand and this duck walks up to the lemonade stand and he goes,
I've seen it.
he goes, hey.
Yeah. I've seen it.
Thank you very much.
All right, okay.
There's 3 of them.
He turns around and goes, hey, got any grapes?
So there is 3 of them, and then there's the one about the bear in the cave that's also from the same people.
Right, but here's what I wanted to talk about, right? So when Raz and I was growing up, and I'm sure you can YouTube this, right? When Raz and I was growing up, there was like they used to have the scariest thing on telly by a mile were these. Trapdoor was scary. I tell you what was scarier: public information films. Do you know what a public?
Yeah.
Yes, I do know what a public information film is.
The old nuclear. What's it called?
Well, there was that. There was when we were kids. There was a AIDS pandemic that was impacting the UK, and those adverts were always really scary. There was one about a train track, and there was also one about not getting in strangers' cars that involved a cat and a young boy called Charlie Says. Do you remember Charlie Says, Russ?
I don't.
They were incredible.
You know what always scared me? It still scares me now. When you go onto a CBBC, whatever it is, and it says CBB whatever is closed, it will come back at 6 whatever in the morning. And underneath it says, if you see a picture behind this, like go off of the channel and click back. And I'm like, what pictures are people taking? It's like the Teletubbies, but like black and white, and then they're all attacking each other or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
So the fact that you're not seeing a picture means that you're worried about what other people are seeing. So public information was one, and like they were definitely really, really, really scary public information movies.
See, I think our versions of that are very tame. So I had Dumb Ways to Die, and I had the T video. And Soph knows exactly what I'm talking about because it's such a cultural phenomenon. And if I say the T video, Soph knows exactly what I'm talking about. But you guys look kind of clueless.
Now I know what the T video is because you've shown me the T video.
Very funny.
The game.
The game isn't a public service announcement thing, though.
No.
But Russ, if I had the T video to you, would you know what I'm talking about?
Oh.
So there's this video that they show to all kids above a certain age multiple times in their education. I think I've been shown it about 10 times.
Yeah, it's it's primarily about consent.
Yeah. Unconscious people don't want tea. If someone said they wanted tea and now they're unconscious, don't force them to drink tea. It's you know.
It's a good message.
I think I might say that.
Yeah. But it's just such a cultural phenomenon. If you mentioned the tea video to any British student above a certain age and under another age, that's it.
You know that. On that note, let's move on to Kindness News.
Kindness News.
And there's a auction going on. So ex-Doctor Who art leads bidding in a Hertfordshire charity auction. Celebrities including Jodie Whittaker have contributed art to a charity auction that is now underway. Hitchin-born artist Sarah Graham started the fundraiser to raise money for North Hart Stevenage Samaritans, and she invited more than 170 celebrities, including James Bay, Joe Lycett and Kerry Ellis, to paint camper van designs for the project entitled Samaravans. I really like this. All of the vans created by the artist are on display at Arkley Fine Art in the Hitchin. To describe their art entitled The Time Van, the Doctor Who star, Jodie Whittaker, said, "Time Van incorporates the colours of my Doctor's costumes, the blue coat, yellow braces, pride rainbow, and the number plate is 13, as I'm the 13th Doctor." Within 24 hours of the auction beginning, Time Van had received about 75 bids, with a prize reaching £2,000. There's not much, chaps, I miss about the pandemic, but do you remember Grace and Perry's Art Club? That was brilliant. And I actually got into a bit of art during lockdown, which I've completely not done.
Get on there.
I was, but I actually enjoyed the process of creating art, which Sophie's amazing at, by the way. Samaritans was Samaravans was inspired by Background Bob, a 14-year-old with hypercephalus, epilepsy, and cerebral palsy, who collaborate with more than 750 artists, including a. Miss Graham said she wanted to raise money for the charity as it had provided a lifeline for her during her struggle with bipolar disorder. I know from personal experience how important the Samaritans can be when you are in deep distress. I think the Samaritans do an amazing job as an anonymous lifeline. You guys think?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of them calling lines don't get as much publicity as sort of your PDSAs or that do on the telly, but they do a vital job. The one by Age UK helping people with older people feeling lonely.
Yeah,
looks.
And we've interviewed people who have.
Looks amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, because that element of loneliness as an impact on our lives, I think we need to certainly as a community and as a country do more from. Samaritans uses volunteers to offer listening and support to people and communities in times of need. love that little story, using art and creativity to raise money for an amazing cause. That's brilliant. On that note, let's move on to part 2 of our interview with Rosalind Bluestone. We loved interviewing Rosalind, didn't we?
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, very enjoyable.
Do you want to elaborate, guys?
Well, I found a story that she was made redundant and then sort of made redundant from a similar job to what she's doing now, but took that model and moved it over into her own project. I found that quite interesting.
Yeah, so did I.
It was really interesting that there were people still willing to help her in her goal.
Well, that's the thing. It's that element where she didn't do it alone, did she? Like, we all need people to support and help us with whatever we do in our lives. And even though she got made redundant, started this project independently, yes, she bought the patch and she bought the drive, but actually we need other people to help us along the journey, and that's key. So, on that note, let's listen to part 2 of the interview with Rosalind. Charlotte, what's your next question?
So you've talked about sort of the work you do, but beyond the work, what's the mission? What's the goal? What's sort of where you want to go with all this?
So we're 9 years in to the charity. What's the mission is, to help vulnerable people at home and overseas, because since pre-COVID, we were working with 12 local charities, homeless and asylum seekers, refugees.
That nationwide, Rosalind, is there like a geographical range to the support you give? Or when you talk about at home, is that typically in London, or is that sort of...
Oh no, it's Scotland, Wales, to the south. Yes, it's groups. So we started with 12, and since COVID, it's 112 charities, UK charities, and we supply them with all these hygiene, with nappies, with sanitary towels, with coats, for asylum seekers and refugees that have arrived in flip-flops, don't have a winter coat. In fact, we're sitting here in Watford today, my colleague and I, we've had 3 collections here of clothing, and the charities we're working with are saying, look, we must make sure people have got coats for this weather. We also supply sleeping bags, and all these goods are given to us free of charge. So it's either from companies and the other thing that we do is mobilize a community to do a collection of nappies, a collection of toiletries or sanitary towels, or a school, and also we respond to crisis as well. So Ukraine, there was a huge response here, sort of all over the UK. And obviously and during the Afghan crisis as well, we had so many goods we couldn't actually get into our facility. So we couldn't get through the door. We had to close it because couldn't get to the toilets. It was actually a fire hazard. So we had to sort of remove goods from here. And so, and that was at that stage.
It shows that people are generous. I've got a philosophy, and I don't know, and I've said this, Charlotte and Raz, and I've said it on the podcast loads of times, but given the chance, people are good, right?
We couldn't do what we do without the generosity of the communities who are in a position to help, and also British and European industry. So the companies that help us, we've got over 280 companies that help us, and some of the companies help us with warehousing, because if you came here, like head office of Uniqlo came here and BlackRock, and they see this tiny place, and they think, oh, Rosalind, how do you make this happen all from this tiny place? Because you can't get a lorry down the road. If you do, it blocks the whole road, and you can't unload pallets of clothing. So the way that we make it, well, this is really the sort of heartbeat office, local distribution to the local charities of goods. then we work with two companies, and I'm going to mention them.
Yeah, sure.
So one company is called the Dune Group, Dune Shoes.
Yeah.
So they've been helping me for many years
with warehouse space in particular, right?
with warehouse space in Leicester, and also with logistics. So when their vans go around the big shopping centres, dropping off all their beautiful shoes and handbags and boots, they go back empty. And instead of going back empty, they do collections for us from the different other companies who are donating stock to us. And then they take it up to their warehouse, put it all on pallets, and then then they deliver it somewhere else, whatever we tell them to do with it. So they've helped us load up trucks in the past, but recently, since the war in Ukraine, we've been working with my first years, who are in Northampton, and they do a huge amount for us all. So they take all the goods in from Dune, and they palletize them, label them, weigh them, get them ready for export, which is a huge job for us.
What's your next question?
Well, I think it sort of nicely links into all this. This seems to be flowing quite well. So you say that the donations come from, I mean, the way you're talking about it, they come from companies, but also communities. How do you the question is just generally, where do your donations come from? Like, is it just clothing donations you get? Do you take monetary donations? Sort of a little bit about that.
Okay, so the sort of donations we get from British industry and also from European industry. So we get goods from companies in Europe as well, which go directly to Holland, obviously. They are unwanted stock. So samples or last year's fashion or tiny faults. It could be there's 1 centimetre out in the stretch of the neck, or the buttons are not the right buttons, or the buyers are just not happy with the goods that have been imported from either Turkey or China, that they're not happy with them. So they reject them. So it's quite unbelievable. The volumes that are available, and companies contact us now and say, we've got 5,000 hoodies, and would you like them? And they have to go abroad. So the thing is, so it means what the alternative for them, we're saving those goods from going to landfill. So not only
otherwise they just get wasted, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we're ticking two boxes. Goods for Good is ticking two boxes. One is the humanitarian aid, obviously helping people, and we're also helping and kind to the planet. And these are two these are two things that we feel are very attractive to corporates, because if we're talking about funding, which we haven't really spoken about, people have their favorite charities, and they might give a standing order of a fiver or something or they support their local charity shops, which is great. But to run a charity like we are, even with a tiny team, and a facility, we have to pay rent, and we have our overheads and everything, and we need to have funds coming in. And we believe, with corporate social responsibility, and now with ESG, environmental, social, and governance, sustainability, and governance, that we actually have a lot to offer companies. And we do have a lot of companies that are working with us. For example, we've had teams in from Uniqlo, from Beatrice, a pharmaceutical company, from BlackRock, from Metrobank, that they come in to help us. And we sort of we have a scheme called the Humanitarian Aid Partnership Scheme, where we're looking for companies to invest and be part of what we do, to give us an annual donation financial donation, but also we can engage their teams in coming in to help us organize events for them in their work, like collecting coats for the homeless. So we believe that the partnership is a two-way partnership.
And I think you're right. I mean, our experience of, and it reminds me of an interview we did with a lady called Tracy Walsh, who runs a organisation called the East End Community Foundation, and she said that these companies have got an effective desire to help, but not the knowledge and skills actually to deliver. So they need to find really good charity partners to support them to do that, right?
No, it's absolutely true, because a lot of companies do have a commitment for volunteering and for activities for their teams. They want, but they might only be familiar with the bigger charities, and there are a lot of small charities like ours who are struggling. I mean, I think these volunteering opportunities are quite rare. So
I mean, what I'm curious about is what story best describes the work you do. When you think about sort of the work you do and the impact it has, what story springs to mind?
I think it's a story of kindness. It's all about kindness and being kind to people. And it really is these very small gestures. The world we live in at the moment is not kind enough, let's say. So, we encourage that kindness, and we find also that the companies that come in to help us, they come and volunteer. We have professional volunteers as well, doing other things, not only just packing goods, but sort of helping us with other challenges. For example,
and I mean, it's interesting. I mean, we've got, I run a small business as well as host the podcast. One of our philosophies is do well, do good. And other professional companies that we talk to, it's not unusual that they share that same philosophy, because actually, the same as you at 60, Rosalind, you wanted purpose in your life, right? It's that purpose element. I think people, particularly in a world that looks sometimes so conflict ridden, we're looking for that opportunity to do good. So thank you for shouting out the fact that you're looking for companies, because we hopefully we get the opportunity to share that on the podcast and get people to get in touch. And I'll do this after the interview, but there's a couple of people that I probably want to introduce you to that might be able to help you with that. So leave that with me. I'll let Charlotte go on to the next question, but I'll make some introductions for you that might be able to help you with that.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I feel like we've covered my next question, so I might just move on to the one after it.
All right, then.
All right, that's how leading the interview works. What would you say is the most impactful part of your work? Sort of like, what do you feel has the most impact, or what part makes you feel the best about the work you do?
So obviously when you're delivering essential goods to people that don't have them, and you get feedback from a community. So for example, just as an example, we had a huge donation from a sportswear company. I can't mention some of the companies because actually they don't want to be mentioned. But we had four 40-foot trucks of sportwear. That's footwear, tracksuits, hoodies, school bags, from a company, and it all had to leave the country. So companies may say where they want these goods to go, because they don't want them affecting the local market.
Can I ask then, so if they do leave the country, your charity partners in Holland are then the first step for that, and then it gets distributed throughout Europe? Is that how it works from a logistics?
No, we have charity partners now especially since the Ukraine war, we send directly, whereas at the beginning we used to send everything via Holland, but over the last few years we're sending things directly to Odessa or directly to Moldova. So the impact of all these sports goods, it meant that the charity partner working in Moldova, which happens to be another British charity, also very small. We like working with small focused charities. They were able to deliver all these sports goods to football teams where the children didn't have any football boots or kit.
Love that.
Basketball teams, schools, orphanages. They were giving out school bags. This particular charity also are supplied with food through a company, a UK company. So they were giving out food and also clothing, shoes, coats, as I say, sports kit. And what the impact for them is that they've been able to reach out to the Department of Education over there, to the Ministry of Education, to the Moldovan Football Association. They've delivered some of the goods into Ukraine over the border to orphans, to kids. I mean, the impact has been absolutely huge, and we have got some stories and reports on our website reflecting that, and obviously social media is also important to us. We've got good Instagram, Facebook accounts.
Can I just encourage all our listeners to visit your website? Because I said to you before our interview, I have found it quite inspiring watching your video, watching the story of the charity, thinking about the amazing work you do. So please visit. We'll talk about the website and we'll make sure the website's on the show notes when the podcast goes out. But please visit Good for Good, because it is an inspiring story. Charlotte, next question for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess we're going back to the website. We'll stay there because I too have been on the website.
Go on.
So on your website, you talk about specifically providing support to vulnerable communities, and you talk about not just supporting communities that we would like primarily think of as vulnerable, but also supporting groups like the elderly. How is there a difference in the type of support you find that they need?
Oh yeah, definitely. So I mean, when we're collecting goods, obviously we make sure we've got goods for the needs. I mean, we can't always get everything that is needed, and obviously stock comes and goes, and then we sort of have to go back to that company and ask them for more bedding, for example. But certainly the elderly are needing things like bedding and blankets and warm clothing, coats, boots, sort of like things that where they're not going to fall. And I'm talking about overseas mostly. So elderly community here in the UK, we, as I say, we work with all our goods go out via another charity, sort of. So we're not actually out there giving out goods. We're working with 112.
You're a collaborative partner, aren't you? Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
It's interesting. We did an interview which with a charity called the Felix Project a few weeks ago, and they're effectively the intermediary for food in the and that's what you do for goods, isn't it? You're working as that middleman there, and their point I think applies to your charity, because without that intermediary, the connection often doesn't get made, does it? It's like all this goods just, as you say, ends up in landfill.
But one lovely story I'd like to tell, Charlotte, on the subject of elderly people. I visited a lady in Ukraine living in, actually, I think it was one of the areas that's very badly bombed now, sadly, but it was beautiful countryside in a little village, and from the outside her house looked like a little sort of something from the front of a chocolate box, you know, a little yellow sort of painted house.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, that how quaint. Who are we going to see now? We walked in, very sort of dingy, dark, and she big room. And I'm sort of, my eyes were getting accustomed to the light, and I looked around, and all I could see was a sort of like a little corner with a sink, and loads of bags stuffed in the corner, and then she had her bed, and she was sitting by a table, like there was one chair and a candle because there was no electricity, and she said to me, "Oh." Through an interpreter. So I was there with her social worker and an interpreter, and the interpreter told me that she wanted to thank me for her magic blanket. And I thought, oh, what does she mean? I love what's a magic blanket, you know? So I said to her, tell me about the blanket. Can you show me the blanket? I'm really happy you're so pleased with it. And she sort of, it was warm weather, and she pointed to her bed, and she just showed me, and it was like a Marks and Spencer duvet cover. And I said to her, well, I'm pleased you like your duvet, you know, your cover. I said, what makes it magic for you? Oh, she said, well, in the winter, I stuff all my clothes and all those bags in the corner, and that blanket keeps me alive. And she said, now look. And in the summer, she said, I take all the bags and all my clothes out of the blanket, and I've got a lovely cool cover. And for her,
Amazing.
and that was her magic blanket, because they don't have duvet covers,
Yeah.
you know. So
You know what? It's that element of as you said, you know, one of the things that this podcast always brings me back to is gratitude, because as you say, we take that stuff for granted, right, in the UK
yeah.
primarily, and that individual just doing that is amazing. I absolutely love it. Charlotte, what's your next question?
So 9 years, it's a long time. Is there a next step, and what is it?
Well, coming into our 10th year is very exciting, and my chair, Noah Bernstein, always said to me, if you get past your first year, you've done well. If you get past your 5th year, you've done very well. So here we are coming into the 10th year. I would like to see Goods for Good taken to the next stage now, because, you know, I feel that we've sort of, we've had a huge impact, delivering over £50 million worth of unwanted stock
Amazing.
to people in need, and it's a huge result. You know, some of the donations that we've had from some of the big sports companies, and some of our donors like Uniqlo, like Next, like Dune. My first year's Regatta, outdoor wear, Next, maybe I've said them already, but you know, the goods that we've delivered have all been vital goods, and you know, we've managed to do this all on a shoestring budget. We need to increase our work facility, our team, and really we're looking for a new chair at the moment, or a co-chair that will help us to take the charity to the next level, because you know we have a proven model which is helping people, you know, the whole humanitarian aid sector, and also the sustainability sector, preventing goods, repurposing goods that otherwise would go.
It's a double win, isn't it? It's a double win. Yeah, 100%.
And now we need to be able to have the funds that we need to take the charity to the next level, and increase our reach, and to get to more people, bring more companies on board who want to get involved with us.
So who should get in touch? Who would be the ideal person to pick up the phone and speak to you, Rosalind?
Well, we'd love to talk to companies that want to get involved with us, who'd like to volunteer with us, who'd like to give us financial help as well, and involve their teams, because we feel that we have a lot to offer them, as well as they have to offer us. And we often say we had a team of 10 in here yesterday, and it was a squeeze. In fact, we've just been given a sort of another local facility by a company called Focus Brands in St Albans. So it means we're going to be able to have larger groups of volunteers in on a regular basis. But we need to have a team that can also manage that, because it needs managing. We need help to get to the next level, and I'm very optimistic. As I approach next year will be my 70th birthday, and I have got lots of energy and ideas, and a wonderful team. I want to say thank you to the team that have supported me and the volunteers. So most of the team currently were volunteers at one stage, and our trustees that have done a fantastic job supporting me. Business mentor Andrew Jacobs, who's sort of held my hand from November 2013, I think it was, where I sort of told him what I was planning to do, and he introduced me to a group called Ella Forums, which is a forum for CEOs of charities that I'm still a member of, and I have wonderful mentoring through my group and also one-to-one. So I can't take all the credit. And when I got my MBE at Windsor Castle a couple of weeks ago, if I said I wanted to sort of cut it into little pieces and share a piece with everyone that's helped.
But this is the reality, isn't it? No man or woman is an island, right? We all do it with the support of our families, our friends, our teams, and I think the sooner you recognise that, the sooner you actually get to thrive, because it actually relies on a lot of people and not just somebody. I think you need people like you, Rosalind, to just drive the way forward, but you also need the support of people to come with you on that journey. So I absolutely love that. We're coming to the end of the interview now. What I'd love to do is share where people can get in touch with you next. So what's the website? Where can they find you on social media or on LinkedIn? Where do they reach out?
Yes. Okay. So obviously I'm on LinkedIn. I nearly called it LinkedIn.
That's a different site, LinkedIn.
Yes.
Maybe somebody should start LinkedIn.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm on LinkedIn, Rosalind Bluestone, and the website address is goodsforgood.org.uk. That's goods for good with the FOR in the middle of the two goods. So goodsforgood.org.uk, my LinkedIn, and I'll be delighted to hear from anybody that wants more information about what we do, how they can get involved, and be delighted to start new relationships and donors of goods or donors of funds, and really sort of collaborate. I always love collaborating, and I think this is something that a lot of charities don't do, but we love collaborating with other charities on projects. Yeah.
Fabulous. Thank you so much for your time today,
Thank you so much.
We've loved chatting to you.
Yeah, I've had a great time. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. That was part 2. Tis the end of another podcast, but the end isn't really the end.
Tis the end.
It's just time, the joke of the week.
Righto, I'm doing a joke about YouTube this week. Just have to do the one. Hopefully it's not too disappointing, because I am glitching all over the show. Why was Zelda sad after scrolling through a bunch of YouTube videos?
I don't know.
No, Charlotte.
Because she couldn't find the link in the description.
Should we have that second one?
Yeah, prepare for more glitching then, I suppose. It's 2023, and I still tell my subscribers on YouTube to wear a mask. Who knows? My video could go viral.
Oh, God. On that note, that's the end of another podcast. We will see you, my friends.
What happened to saying... What happened something to say and tis the end of another podcast really dramatically because I don't understand.
Well, we stopped having something big and dramatic at the end to say tis the end, but I can do it if you want to.
That's fine. It's fine.
Okay, we'll do it next time.
Next time.
That is actually the end, and we'll see you next time on the podcast.
Bye.
Bye.